So first offer some prayers to our teachers, previous acharyas. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpa Trubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Krishna Balarama ki Jai. Balaram Purnima ki Jai. Dauji Maharaja ki Jai. So, first beg blessings, the assembled Vaishnavis, that I may be able to speak properly in the glories of Lord Balaram. Baladev Tattva. In Sanskrit, Tattva means truth or thatness, that which is. So to go through the glories of Sri Balaram, we'll first read from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 14, verses 28 and 29. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So in this verse, Yudhishthira Maharaj is inquiring. And he asks, are Ugrasen, whose son was the mischievous Kamsa, and his younger brother still living? Are Hidika and his son Kritavarma happy? Are Akrura, Jayanta, Gada, Sarana, and Satrujit all happy? How is Balaram, the personality of Godhead, and the protector of the devotees? Beautiful glorification of Yudhishthira Maharaj to Balaram, the protector of the devotees. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hastinapur, the capital of the Pandavas, was situated somewhere near present New Delhi, and the kingdom of Ugrasen was situated in Mathura. While returning to Delhi from Dwarka, Arjuna must have visited the city of Mathura, and therefore the inquiry about the king of Mathura is valid. Amongst various names of the relatives, the name of Rama, or Balaram, eldest brother of Lord Krishna, is added with the words, the personality of Godhead, because Lord Balaram is the immediate expansion of Vishnu Tattva as Prakash Vigraha of Lord Krishna. The Supreme Lord, although one without a second, expands himself as many other living beings. The Vishnu Tattva living beings are expansions of the Supreme Lord, and all of them are qualitatively and quantitatively equal with the Lord. But expansions of the Jiva Shakti, the category of the ordinary living beings, are not at all equal with the Lord. One who considers the Jiva Shakti and the Vishnu Tattva to be on an equal level is considered a condemned soul of the world. Sri Rama, or Balaram Rama, is the protector of the devotees of the Lord. Baladev acts as the spiritual master of all devotees, and by his causeless mercy the fallen souls are delivered. Sri Baladev appeared as Sri Nityananda Prabhu during the advent of Lord Chaitanya, and the great Lord Nityananda Prabhu exhibited his causeless mercy by delivering a pair of extremely fallen souls named Chagai and Madai. Therefore, it is particularly mentioned herein that Balaram is the protector of the devotees of the Lord. By his divine grace, only one can approach the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, and thus Sri Balaram is the mercy incarnation of the Lord, manifested as the spiritual master, the savior of the pure devotees. Sri Balaram ki jai. It's a beautiful, beautiful purport. Srila Prabhupada giving us a summary of who Sri Balaram is. So to understand how Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, and he has many different avatars or incarnations. Right? Avatar means one who descends into this world. And an allegory that we gave the other morning to explain the different incarnations of Lord Krishna is by using the moon. Right? Tonight is the super blue moon. I don't know if anybody's feeling it, but super blue moon, right? Once in a blue moon. So blue moon is when there's two Purnimas, or in Sanskrit, Purnima means full moon in Sanskrit. So when there's two full moons in a month, it's a blue moon. And tonight is a super moon because it's super close to the earth, and everybody's feeling it. The excitement of Balaram. Right? Balaram wears blue, so blue moon. Super blue. But the moon tonight is full. Right? When you look at the moon, very full. Other nights, crescent moon, half moon. But it's the same moon. So just in the same way, Krishna's different incarnations, sometimes they have the full potency of Krishna, like Balaram. Krishna and Balaram are non-different. They have a different bodily hue. Balaram is beautiful whitish, and Krishna is beautiful blackish color. And so, different incarnations, we don't have to go into it too much, it gets very technical. But Balaram is the second expansion of Krishna, whom all other avatars actually expand from. So Balaram, protector of the devotees, he's actually the cause of everything. Now, what do we mean by that? Right? We often go down this theological understanding that everything comes from God. Everything comes from the supreme absolute truth. How does that actually work? Well, it all starts with Balaram. From Balaram, second avatar of him is known as Mahasankarshan. Sankarshan means one who attracts. Right? Karshana, Krishna, attractive, most attractive. And so Balaram, he expands as Mahasankarshan in the pastimes of Dwarka and Mathura. And expanding further, he expands into a second Sankarshan. So Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. This is known as the four incarnations, Chaturvyuha. And they also correspond with the yogic understanding of the subtle body. So Vasudev, who is Krishna, is the deity of consciousness. Sankarshan is the deity, presiding deity, of the ego and false ego, that I-ness that we feel. Pradyumna is the presiding deity of intelligence, and Aniruddha, the presiding deity of the mind. So consciousness, ego, intelligence, and mind. This is what is called the subtle body, the antakarana. And specifically, the moon is connected with the mind. So if you're feeling anything from the super blue moon, you can pray to Aniruddha. There's a beautiful verse in Srimad Bhagavatam that gives a beautiful description of Aniruddha and a prayer to him to calm the mind. And so these 4 incarnations, and from that second Sankarshan comes Mahavishnu, who then brings forth all the material universes. And then Mahavishnu expands himself to go into each universe as Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, and then to each and every living entity's heart, and every atom as Kshirodakashayi Vishnu. So all the incarnations of Krishna come through Balaram, and all the material worlds are actually established by Balaram, because then Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, Brahma comes up, and the material worlds are produced. But Balaram, who's Adhara Shakti, everything rests upon him. He actually creates the spiritual world. All of the beds, all of the ground, the bodies, everything that's used for Krishna's service, from a water pot to mridanga to anything you can imagine that's used in the service of Krishna, is an expansion of Balaram. Because Balaram, even though he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the second expansion of Krishna, he has a different mood. And what is that mood? How to serve Krishna. Sevaka Abhiman. So this Sevaka Abhiman, this mood of service. So this mood of service originates from Balaram. And this is why Balaram, as Srila Prabhupada stated in the purport, is the original guru. So all gurus in this world are an expansion of Balaram, who has the original mood of service to Krishna. So everything resting on Balaram, everything coming from Balaram, and Balaram having this mood of service. In Vrindavan, we see a beautiful picture here of Krishna and Balaram, the cowherd boys playing. So Balaram, he serves Krishna in 3 different ways. Actually 4, but we'll get to the 4th a little later. The 3 ways is by guru, as a friend, and as a servant. So as a guru, sometimes he'll teach Krishna. He'll order Krishna like a parent, right? As a older brother, anybody have older siblings? Older siblings always want to be the parent, right? You think you're on equal terms, but the older brother, older sister will remind you that, no, they're the representative of the parents. So Balaram, he also acts like a representative of Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj. Krishna, you're going out to take care of the cows today? Don't go to Kaliya Ghat, where Kaliya's serpent is residing. Make sure you don't go there. He'll order Krishna. Sometimes the cowherd boys, they'll be playing, and Krishna, he'll want to take rest. And so Balaram will go and massage the feet of Krishna, or Krishna will massage the feet of Balaram. And as a friend, the cowherd boys, they're playing. So Balaram is the original servant personality of Godhead. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it talks about the birth of Krishna and Balaram. So next week, Krishna Janmashtami coming up. We're diving into these pastimes. Hopefully everyone's meditating on the birth of Krishna, and tonight the birth of Balaram. So God, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he takes birth. He's a friend. He's everything. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it talks about King Kamsa. Kamsa is the emblem of tyranny, right? In tonight's verse, when Yudhishthira, he's asking about Ugrasen, who's the father of Kamsa. Kamsa, he forces his father into prison and takes the throne. And he subdues all other kings. He wants complete power. He's like the tyranny and false ego, controlling mentality of this material world. He wants to claim all power. He wants to reign over everything. He's tyranny personified. But Kangsa, he hears a message that the 8th son of Devaki, his cousin, is going to kill him. There's this prophecy. And now Kangsa, he was such a ruthless tyrant that he was going to kill his sister cousin right then and there. Because he was so wrapped up in control, in the false ego that I'm this material body. If my material body is destroyed, then I'm not going to enjoy anymore. So I have to kill her or be killed by her ultimately. And so he took up his sword, grabbed her hair, and was going to cut her head off. Vasudeva, the husband of Devaki, pleaded with Kangsa, please don't kill. Actually, he spoke philosophy, right? He had to speak verses and verses of philosophy of how we're not this material body, how we're spirit soul. He actually spoke quite amazing philosophy to calm down Kangsa. And so they made a plan. What was that plan? We're going to give you our children. And you can do with our children as you please. And so Kangsa, it was time for Devaki to give birth some months later. And Devaki, she gave birth to a boy. And Kangsa, he thought, it's predicted that the 8th son of Devaki is going to kill me, so I don't need to worry about this first son. But then Narada Muni came. Narada Muni is very tricky because he's very eager to get Krishna to appear in this world. So he went to Kangsa and he said, Kangsa, you don't know which child is the first or the last, the 8th. This first child could actually be the 8th child that's going to kill you. You don't know. So Kangsa, he became very paranoid. What did he do? He killed the child. Second child was born, killed that child. Third child, fourth child, fifth child. 6 children that were born from Devaki were killed by this tyrant because he was afraid that this child would later on kill him. The 7th child to enter the womb of Devaki was Sri Balarama. Krishna, who hadn't appeared yet, but he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he's everywhere. He went to his spiritual energy, Yoga Maya, and said that my expansion, Ananta, Balaram, he's in the womb of Devaki. Please transfer this child into the womb of Rohini, who's another wife of Vasudeva. And Vasudeva, he heard that Rohini is now pregnant, so he sent Rohini by horse to Vrindavan to live with Nanda and Yashoda, to be protected there. Because he knew that Devaki and him, they were in prison, but Rohini, she'll be safe in Vrindavan. So Devaki, Vasudeva, they're in prison, waiting for Krishna to appear, and it seems like Devaki, she had a miscarriage. Her child was transferred to the womb of Rohini. Now, our Acharya, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, says something very amazing. He breaks this down symbolically. How does he break it down symbolically? Kangsa is a representation of fear. Devaki, Vasudeva, they're afraid of Kangsa. They're in fear of him. They're imprisoned, their children are being killed, they're afraid. So Kangsa is a representation of fear. The 6 sons that were killed represent the objects of the senses: taste, form, smell, touch, hearing. right? The objects of this world, due to the false ego, we think are ours, right? Anything that's connected to this body, we think is ours. It's mine. These different objects of this world, that food that we taste, the smells that we smell, the things that we look at, we want to enjoy them. So these 6 sons represent the 6 objects of the senses. Now, Devaki represents bhakti yoga, devotional service. So symbolically, what happens is that we're afraid of falling into the material darkness. We want to be enlightened. We want to wake up from this dream world and realize who we actually are. So we become a little bit afraid that we're going to get wrapped up in materialism. And that fear then kills off the enjoying spirit of the objects of this world, which then produces bhakti. And Balaram appears in that womb of bhakti. And Balaram, he clears the way for Krishna to become manifest. And this is exactly like taking shelter of a guru. Realizing who we are as spirit souls, wanting to realize that we're spirit souls, we then become fearful of the material existence and we take shelter of Guru, who will then take us to Krishna. This is the symbolic understanding of the birth of Balaram that our acharyas, Srila Prabhupada, speak about. Very beautiful symbolic understanding. So Balaram, he clears the way. It's stated that if you want to glorify Krishna, you have to go through Balaram first. And Balaram, whose plenary portion of a 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 plenary portion is Ananta Shesh, who has thousands and thousands of hoods and thousands of mouths, who are glorifying Krishna unlimitedly and can never reach the end of the glories of Krishna. This is the process of bhakti. So to understand this takes faith, right? Balaram, Supreme Personality of Godhead, how is he being born? How is he being brought into this world? How is God born? Srila Prabhupada has a very simple antidote to that. Has anybody heard of Dr. Frog? Right? The story of Dr. Frog. Srila Prabhupada tells the story that there is a frog who was in a well. Right? A well is about 3 feet around. And there was another frog who fell into the well. And this frog had seen the Atlantic Ocean. And he started telling this Dr. Frog, who thought he knew everything about the well. He started saying that I've seen this vast ocean. And Dr. Frog said, oh, he started puffing up. You know how frogs have that puff up when they puff? Is it this big? Is it this big? Is it as big as this well? No, the Atlantic Ocean is much bigger than the 3-foot well. I can't even see the other side. And Dr. Frog, who knew everything about this 3-foot well, he couldn't understand the Atlantic Ocean. So we have to sometimes have faith in hearing these pastimes, that we're not going to understand it with our intellectual brain, but it has to be revealed to us by the sadhus and guru. And so for the next part, we're going to go into some very wonderful pastimes of Balaram. Because Balaram, he's such an amazing personality. He's actually our very, very best friend. And we'll explain why. So Balaram and Krishna, after Krishna appears, after Janmashtami, they grow up together, they're playing together. And we see the beautiful picture here. They used to go every day to play with the calves, take care of the calves, play with each other. So God, he likes to play. Krishna and Balaram, even though they're the Supreme Personality of Godheads, the original source of all material and spiritual worlds, the original of everything, they like to play as little children. And what do? With their friends, they start playing in so many different ways. Sometimes They'll see a bird flying in the sky. And what will they do? They'll run underneath the bird with their arms stretched out, wanting to be the bird. Sometimes they'll imitate different cuckoos and frogs and monkeys, all types of different animals they would imitate. Sometimes they would yell into a well, and when the echo would come back, then they would say a bad name in Sanskrit, like Lumpito, certain things like that. They would play in so many different ways. They would take the different minerals of Vrindavan, and they would place it on their faces, sometimes making tilak, sometimes taking the peacock feathers, putting them in their hair. And they would play a very wonderful game called Who Can Touch Krishna First? And they would race to try and touch Krishna first. They would play all types of different games. And so, playing these different games, Kamsa, the evil tyrant, he knew that Krishna, he was born. He would send demons to Vrindavan, great, powerful, mystic yogis who could take different forms. And they thought themselves very powerful to try to kill Krishna. Right? Who was the first demon that Krishna kills? Putana. Second? There's one, Shakatasura before Trinavarta, the cart demon, and then Trinavarta, then Vatsasura, and so many demons, Bakasura, that were killed by Krishna. There were certain demons that were killed by Balarama. And one demon is very powerful. Actually, Kamsa, he was feeling very despondent. He'd sent so many demons, they've all been killed. Nobody's going to kill Krishna. But there was one demon named Pralamba. He went before Kamsa, and he said, you give me 1 hour, just 1 hour, I'll kill Krishna. Kamsa said, you're like a moth flying into the flame. You're going to be killed. He said, no, give me 1 hour. I'm going to kill Krishna. So he took his very special form. What form did he take? Cowherd boy. He took the form of a cowherd boy. So he looked just like the other cowherd boys, and Krishna and Balaram. Krishna and Balaram, they would play certain games. Sometimes they would pretend to be kings. Krishna was one king, Balaram was another king, and the different cowherd boys, they would split up, and then they would have mock wars. They'd march around like they're kings and soldiers, dress up like kings. And they would play different wrestling games. So they were playing a game of tug of war. Krishna's team was on one side and Balaram's team was on one side. And Pralamba, he came at a time when he could slip in with the other cowherd boys. But Krishna and Balaram, they noticed him very easily. Krishna and Balaram, they got their two teams. Pralamba, he went on the team of Krishna because he took one look at Krishna and he remembered, oh yeah, I told Kamsa I was going to kill Krishna in 1 hour, but now that I'm here, Krishna seems very powerful. I better see what's going on here. So I'm going to take the team of Krishna and I'm going to see what's going to happen. And so they went to a tug of war, and the losers, they had to carry the winners on their shoulders. So they're tugging, and Krishna's team, they won. Balaram's team won. Balaram's team won, and Krishna's team, they had to carry the winners on their shoulders. So Pralamba, he got on the shoulders of Balaram. And Balaram, he was happy to get a ride on the shoulders of this Pralamba. But what happened was Pralamba was taking Balaram away from the other cowherd boys. And he wanted to be with his friends. And there was supposed to be a spot where everybody met, but Pralamba, this boy, he's taking me farther and farther away. And so Balaram, he didn't want to be without his friends, so he started becoming very heavy. And Pralamba, he couldn't hold the form of a cowherd boy anymore, and he turned into this giant, blackish, coppered-haired demon with fangs. And Balaram was like a mountain on his back and he could barely keep going. And Balaram, seeing this fierce form, he just took his fist and punched him in the head, and Pralamba died. Balarama ki jai. Now, what does Pralamba symbolically represent? Pralamba represents not understanding who we are. Pralamba represents the false ego, the need for worship, the need for fame. And what happens is Balaram, who's a representation of Guru. Guru also means heavy. So, Guru's orders to follow the rules and regulations, to chant the holy names, the orders, sometimes they can be very heavy, right? I heard something very beautiful recently. We hear about spiritual authority. Sometimes we don't like that word, authority, right? I joined Krishna consciousness because I wanted to get rid of authorities, right? But authority means author, one who helps you write your own story. Sometimes we think of spiritual authorities, and we don't want any spiritual authorities because we had material authorities. But when we think about it in this way, that we have a story to tell, and one who's going to help us author our story. Because behind everybody's eyes, there's a story to tell. So the spiritual master, spiritual authority, brings out that story. But what happens? We get lost in fame, adoration, sense desire. And this is what Pralamba represents. So the Guru can be very heavy, like Balaram. And these things might weigh us down. But what will happen? Balaram will purify us of these things. There's another demon that Balaram kills. One day, the cowherd boys, they're playing like they always play. And they ran up to Krishna and Balaram, and they addressed Balaram first. They said, Rama Rama Mahabaho, one who has very strong arms. Balaram, there's a demon attacking us. Oh, really? What demon is that? Oh, the demon of hunger. Right? Some of you might be feeling the demon of hunger. There's a feast that's going to happen soon. Right? Some of us fasted today and we felt the demon of hunger. But the cowherd boys, they said, we're so hungry. But the cowherd boys, they're pure friends of Krishna. But in Vrindavan, here's the secret of Vrindavan. Nothing's spoken directly in Vrindavan. Anybody who's heard Krishna, Balaram, Radharani, so many personalities speak, nothing's said directly in Vrindavan. There's a very special term named parokshavad. Everything is spoken indirectly, which makes it more beautiful. Because when there's real love, you don't have to speak directly. You can actually do things indirectly, and the person who loves you, they know. So the cowherd boys, they actually knew that there was a forest named Talavan. Van means forest, and Tala means fruit. There were beautiful fruits, and the breeze was actually bringing the aroma of the fruits to the cowherd boys, and they smelled this, and they thought Krishna and Balaram would love these fruits. Let us go and tell Krishna and Balaram about these fruits. So they're saying, we're hungry, but they actually want to please Krishna and Balaram. And they start saying that, oh, Rama Rama Mahabaho. Rama, one who has strong arms. Krishna, great hero. Only you can help us. There's this forest named Talavan. There's tall fruits, but there's a man-eating donkey. Krishna and Balaram, they thought, never heard of a donkey who eats humans? Who's heard of a donkey that eats humans? We have to see this. We need to see this donkey that eats humans. They said, this fearsome donkey, he's so powerful that not even birds will fly over. They're so afraid of him. And he has a whole legion of other donkeys. So Krishna and Balaram, they go to the forest, and Balaram, He's so strong, he just takes one of the trees, starts shaking it, and all the fruits start falling down. Now this donkey demon named Denuka, he heard the fruits dropping. And he knew, oh, somebody's disturbed my forest. But it's not my forest, it's Kungsa's forest. I'm just protecting all these fruits for the great tyrant Kungsa. Right? Those who know their Arthurian legends, right? King Arthur, the medieval knights, those who go after dragons, Lord of the Rings, right? What do dragons do? They guard treasure. Sometimes they even guard women. But they can't enjoy the treasure. They can't enjoy anything that they're guarding. Just like Denuka. He's guarding this forest, but he doesn't eat the fruits because he's afraid of Kungsa. So he's just guarding it. And he can't enjoy what he's guarding. Just like the dragons of the medieval times. So Denuka, he comes up and he sees Krishna and Balaram. What does he do? He runs right up to Balaram, takes his hind legs, and kicks Balaram right in the chest. And nothing happens. Balaram just stands there. What happened? Nothing. He didn't even flinch. He didn't feel anything. Denuka, he became even more angry. Right? That manly spirit of when you're wrestling with somebody and you're like, oh, did that hurt? They're like, no, it didn't hurt. So you want to apply more pressure because it's hurt your pride. So Denuka, he's very proud. He becomes angry and he goes up to kick Balaram again. Balaram takes him by the hind leg, starts twirling him around and throws him up in the tree and he's dead. Dhenukasura is gone. And now the other donkeys, they know that Denuka, he's been killed. They start attacking Krishna and Balaram just whirl the donkeys around and throw them up into the trees. And it's just about to be sunset. I tried to time it properly. But the acharyas say that just like the clouds, right? Sometimes you can see it very beautifully in Denver, that the clouds at this time, they become a little reddish. I don't know if there's any clouds. But the donkey demons, they were up in the trees and they looked just like the sunset with the blood coming down. And Krishna and Balaram and all the cowherd boys, they started eating the fruits. Well, what does Denuka represent? Load-bearing ass of one who also doesn't know who they are, but is weighed down by lust, anger, and greed, right? When the knight goes to slay the dragon, that's a metaphor for slaying the dragon of greed in your heart, because that dragon, that Dhenukasura, they're not enjoying what they're guarding. But they're just weighed down, right? The load-bearing ass, the donkey, he's got the carrot in front of him and he's carrying so much burden. And that's why donkeys are known as beasts of burden. So to give up that envy, that greed, that lust, and especially that anger. This is what Denuka represents. And Balarama, who's our best friend, will help us cleanse our heart of all these things. So these are the two demons that Balaram kills in Vrindavan. And as some of you might know, Krishna and Balaram, they leave Vrindavan and they go to Mathura to ultimately kill Kungsa. Right? We have the painting there of Krishna and Kungsa, who's the great tyrant. He's very belittled in front of Krishna, and Krishna kills Kungsa. And he frees Vasudeva and Devaki. And those 6 sons that were killed in the womb, there's actually a very happy ending. Krishna and Balaram bring them back, and they're liberated. So Krishna kills Kungsa, and Krishna and Balaram go to live in Dwarka, where they're living like kings. And Balaram, right, during the Battle of Kurukshetra, which some of you might know from the Bhagavad Gita, right, when Arjuna's on the battlefield and Bhagavad Gita is spoken, and then there's the fratricidal war between the Kauravas and the Pandavas, and Krishna, he's there as the chariot driver, of Arjuna? Well, Balaram, he didn't want to be a part of the war. So he said, I'm going on a pilgrimage. I'm going to go see the holy places. I don't want anything to do with the war, because actually he loved everyone on both sides. And so he left and he went on a pilgrimage. And when he went on a pilgrimage, he came to a place where everybody was hearing a person speak about the Puranas. The Puranas are stories of Krishna, Balaram, of Vishnu, and Narayan, of God. And so this personality, he was seated on a seat like this, an asana, and Balaram, he came into the audience. And everybody, they paid their obeisances to Balaram. But Ramaharshana, the person who was speaking, he stood there very proud, thinking, I'm speaking, Balaram is here, I don't need to bow down to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Balaram saw this, and he looked into his heart. And in the heart of Ramaharshana Sutta, he saw pride. Ramaharshana Sutta is a disciple of Srila Vyasadeva. So Srila Vyasadeva, who wrote the Vedas, wrote the Upanishads down, split the Vedas. He gave different sections to different disciples. The Puranas he gave to Ramaharshana Sutta. And Balaram, he saw that this person is so learned. He studied the Vedas. He's a disciple of Srila Vyasadeva, but he's not gentle. And this is such an amazing teaching. That Balaram, he said, one who's studied the Vedas, one who's fixed in spiritual knowledge, there shouldn't be any pride. They should be very gentle, meek, and full of humility. He said this is actually the goal of studying spiritual literature. Sometimes we get wrapped up the other way. We start getting knowledge of spirituality, and what do? We use it to show I'm better than you. I know this shloka. You only know 2 shlokas? Oh, listen to the 1,000 shlokas that I know. We beat others over the head with books. But Balaram, showing he's the guru. He's the original guru, Akhanda Guru Tattva. And what is he showing? How one who actually has spiritual knowledge should be gentle, meek, and humble. And so to clear away Ramaharshana Sutta, what does he do? He takes a representation of the Vedas. He takes kusha grass. If you see on the altar, there's mats. And when we touch cleanse paraphernalia for the bathing, we touch kusha grass. Kusha grass, and sometimes brahmacharis, they'll wear mekhala, a belt of kusha grass to represent the Vedas. So literally with the representation of the Vedas, spiritual knowledge, Balaram took a piece of grass, touched it to Ramaharshana Sutta's head, and his head exploded and he died. So Balaram clears away this pride. Krishna does not want his devotees to be proud. But then all the rishis and sages, they said, we were hearing him speak. We actually promoted him to the yasan, and now who's going to speak to us? And Balaram said, well, you've given him a very special benediction that he'll live a long life, and that he was speaking to you. So his son, Sutta Goswami, he'll now live a long life. Ramaharshana will live through his son, and his son will speak to you. So we see in Srimad Bhagavatam in the Puranas, it starts with Sutta Uvacha, Sutta Goswami. He speaks to the sages of Naimisharanya. So Sutta Goswami, he becomes blessed by Balaram, and Sutta Goswami hears from Shukadeva Goswami, and he speaks Srimad Bhagavatam to everyone. But the sages said, you've killed a brahmana. You've killed a spiritual teacher. Even though you're the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we think that you should show the world by doing some special penance. there's another demon named Balvala. He's the son of Ilvala. Anybody know Ilvala? There's a very special pastime with Ilvala. It's very interesting. I don't want to take too much time, but Ilvala had a brother named Vatapi. And Vatapi and Ilvala, they had a very special way of killing sages. Because Ilvala, he wanted a son who was as strong as Indra. And so he went to one sage, please, great sage, bless me that I can have a son as strong as Indra. And the sage said, no, I cannot give you any blessing. You are a demon, and I don't want the world to be overrun with demoniac personalities. So Ilvala and Vatapi, they got together and they killed this rishi. How did they kill him? Vatapi took the form of goat meat. And Ilvala, he prepared this goat meat, gave it to the sage, and said, please, eat this goat meat. And once the sage actually ate the goat meat, Ilvala would cry out, my brother, come out. And he would burst out of the sage, killing the sage. Who needs movies, right? Reading the Puranas, reading these stories, very amazing pastime. So they would actually kill sages this way. There was one sage who was very special, named Agastya Rishi. He had a very powerful digestion. He actually swallowed the ocean once. And so Ilvala, Vatapi, they got together, they performed their act, magic act, and Agastya Rishi, he knew what was happening. He ate Vatapi, and Ilvala said, come out, my brother, come out. And nothing happened. He said, brother, come out. And Agastya Rishi just said, he's been killed by my digestion. So that was the end of Ilvala and Vatapi, but Ilvala, he had a son named Balvala. And Balvala, he was so angry at the rishis that the rishis, they would sit down, perform sacrifices, meditations, and he would come and he would cause such a disturbance that they weren't able to perform any sacrifices. So Balarama, he had to clear out another menacing personality that represented the faults that we all have in our hearts. This time, Balvala, he would actually fly in the sky. So Balarama, another name is Halayudha. He has a plow. And he has a club. What is his club's name? Does anybody? Sunanda. So what he did is Balvala was flying in the sky. He took his plow, brought him down, and smashed him with his club, Sunanda. End of Balvala, and all the rishis, they were very happy. So Balaram, he is our best friend, clearing away all the darkness within our heart. Recently, one devotee, he asked me, Prabhu, how is it that God understands what we're going through? Right, Nitya Sankirtan Prabhu? You asked me this when you were last here? And I told you about Balaram, right? How does God actually know our illusionment? Because we feel sometimes that we're getting close to spiritual consciousness, but then something happens that sets off our anger, right? We're very peaceful, and then the next iPhone comes out. We're very peaceful, and then, somebody walks by that's so beautiful, and urges. In this world, we're illusioned in different ways, but we want to be free from this illusion. How does God know what it's like to be illusioned? He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's never an illusion. There's a very special pastime that actually shows how Balaram understands what we're feeling. There's a pastime called Brahma Vimohan Leela. And some of you might know this, where Lord Brahma, He's the creator of this world. Tene Brahma Hridaya Adikaveye. Krishna, within the heart of Brahma, creates the 14 planetary systems, creates everything that we see in this world. So Lord Brahma, he saw Krishna kill Aghasura. But then, just as we've been hearing pastimes of Krishna and Balaram playing, he saw Krishna sit down with all the cowherd boys, and they started sharing food. Right? Oh, Krishna, taste this. Wait, Brahma, like Dr. Frog, couldn't understand. Wait, he's killed Aghasura, which the Devatas, the demigods, they couldn't kill? And now he's sitting down and acting like a boy. How is this possible? Who is this person? I'm going to test him. I'm going to show him my power. And so what does he do? He takes away the calves that are with Krishna and Balaram, and he takes away the cowherd boys. And Krishna, he goes to find the calves. He comes back, the cowherd boys are gone. He has some yogurt and some fruit in his hand. What does he do? He manifests himself as the calves and the cowherd boys. He actually expands himself so that all the mothers of Vrindavan, all the cows, all the women, all the cowherd men, they can experience what Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj are experiencing. They want to experience what it's like to have God as a child and take care of him. And so for almost 1 year, this pastime goes on that the calves and the cowherd boys who are Krishna are reciprocating with the mothers and fathers, cows, bulls in Vrindavan. But about 6 days before the year is up, Balaram, he's on a hill. And he's watching the cowherd men. They're on a hill, and there's the cows. And this is part of the day where the cows, they have to be separate from the calves. Otherwise, the calves are going to drink all the milk, and we're not going to make butter and so many other dairy products. So we have to keep them separate. But the cowherd boys, they were down the hill with the calves. And all of a sudden, the cows, they saw their children, and they started running down the hill. Running down so fast that they could have hurt themselves. But they didn't manage to get to the calves, and they started licking the calves as if they were going to swallow them up. And this is how animals show love towards each other, just licking, licking, licking. And the cows, they were licking the calves, and the calves, they were drinking the milk. And the cowherd men, they had to run down the hill, and they were angry because they had to keep the cows up. And then they get to the end of the hill, and they saw the cowherd boys who were Krishna, and they just fell in love and forgot all of their miseries. Krishna Balaram leaving us. And Balaram, he saw all of this. Now our acharyas, our teachers, they say something very amazing. Balaram, he's the same as Krishna. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But there's a spiritual energy called Yoga Maya. And Yoga Maya, she can cover the residents of the spiritual world so that they forget that Krishna is God, that Balaram is God, so they can relate in an intimate way. And actually, this Yoga Maya, it covered Balaram so that he couldn't understand what was going on. Yoga Maya covered Balaram so that Balaram could actually take the viewpoint of a devotee and absorb himself in the ocean of the powers of Krishna. And so Balaram, 5 stages of Yoga Maya started unraveling. The first stage, what is this strange thing that's happening? Right? This is all of our original understanding of this world. What is this person doing? Why did I just do that? What is the strange things that's happening in this world? Right? There's so many strange things that are happening. So Balaram, this unveiling of Yoga Maya, the first unveiling is that there's something strange going on here. And then the second unveiling is this some demigod? Is this some demigoddess? Is this a witch? Am I haunted? Is there some person that's covering me over? What's exactly going on? Whose power is this? Jai Shishi Gaur Nitai ki jai. Nityananda Balarama ki jai. Shishi Radha Govinda Deva ki jai. Shishi Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Devi ki jai. The curtains have just been unveiled. Unveiling of God. All our illusion is unveiled. So the second is understanding whose power is over us. Then the third, this is Yoga Maya. This is the spiritual energy of Krishna. I now understand that I can actually see the forms of the cowherd boys. They're actually Krishna. The calves are actually Krishna. He could see through the veil. And then finally he went to Krishna and Krishna revealed everything to him. What Brahma did, who are the cowherd boys, he revealed everything. And Balaram became a little angry with Krishna. Why did you keep this from me? I'm not going to see you for another 6 days. For another 6 days, I'm not going to the forest with you. But our acharyas explain how Balaram, he was actually given the viewpoint of a devotee and experiencing illusion. Experiencing what it's like to be covered over. So this is why Balaram is especially our great friend, because he understands our illusion. He understands our position very nicely. And so Balaram, he appears as Lord Nityananda Prabhu. And I'll end with this, with some very reassuring words, because Balaram, Akhanda Guru Tattva, he is our guru, and he's our best friend. And this will show how he's especially our best friend. So Balaram, who's able to experience all the rasas of being a parent, a friend, a servant, and he expands himself further as the younger sister of Srimati Radharani, Ananga Manjari. So he's able to experience all the rasas. So it's stated that Balaram is the abode of all rasas. He is everything to his devotees. Lord Nityananda, Balaram, he goes to his brother and he says, "Oh, my brother, contaminated by the vices," right? The vices that represented by Dhenukasura, Pralambasura. We didn't get to Dvivida. We didn't get to the king of Kalinga, Rukmini, or Rukmi, but they're there. But all the vices of Kali Yuga. Because of the contamination of the vices of Kali Yuga, what will become of mankind? He thus advises the Supreme Lord, Krishna, that please devise a purificatory method whereby they can easily attain your shelter. Balaram's looking out for us. He's going to Krishna and saying, how can the people of this world easily attain your shelter? Oh, brothers, simply chant incessantly the names of Sri Hari and let the responsibility of delivering you from the ocean of repeated birth and death rest upon me. So if you're feeling down, if you're feeling like you're struggling, Balaram is personally saying, let the responsibility of delivering you from the ocean of repeated birth and death rest upon me. And how do we do that? By incessantly chanting the names, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Balarama ki jai, Jaji Maharaj ki jai, Shri the Prabhupada ki jai. Vanchakalpa Trudhyascha Kripa Sindhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo.